Welcome to the Obscast, the podcast dedicated to Sherwood Observatory, its members, visitors and all budding astronomers. This episode we are heading down into the reservoir situated next to the observatory for the last time while it's in its current state. By the time you listen to this, building work will have started, turning this reservoir into a brand new science discovery centre and planetarium situated right here at Sherwood Observatory in Sutton and Ashfield. But for now its interior is still accessible, and this episode will be coming to you from inside the reservoir. Here today is Julian Best, who is leading the Society's Reservoir History and Artefact Preservation. We'll get into what that actually means later, but currently we are stood outside the reservoir here on site at Sherwood Observatory. Julian.
Good evening, Joe.
Thank you for being here.
It's good to be here.
I know you've done a lot of work down there in the reservoir with several volunteers. You seem to have enjoyed the experience and enjoyed the space with all it has to offer, creating soundscapes and adding light effects. You've also been giving tours to the public during open events, and while there is of course a lot of excitement about the next stage of the Society's ambitions, will part of you miss what the space has been up until now?
I certainly won't miss the mud.
Lots of mud?
Lots of mud. Lots of members have been working very hard, not only to show it in its raw form to the public, to get them excited and show them what we're going to be doing, but many members have been working very hard to do some preparation work, ready to hand it over to the main contractor. And a small but dedicated team of volunteers have got very muddy in clearing it all out because it's accumulated a lot of silt over the years, which is settled, and we've just had to clear it all out.
Excellent. Well, we all know there's been lots of work going on. Even the last 3 days, we're taking down brickwork on top. How do you feel about the current chapter in the reservoir's history coming to an end and the next one starting?
It's very exciting because it's a building that's been here for many, many years, and it's been in the Society's hands since 2014. And since then, plans have been drawn up and ideas and suggestions, and it's all coming to fruition now. So yes, it's very exciting to show the public what we've been doing and to finally be able to hand it over.
Yep, well, I agree completely. Shall we head down to the reservoir and get out from the noise of the traffic?
Shall we?
Yep, after you. You always like this bit walking in, don't you?
It's fantastic, Joe. I love bringing the public down here, especially if they didn't even know this was here. Yeah. Because when they come in, I'm watching for the wows, and it's guaranteed to get wows out of the public, and that makes it all worthwhile.
Brilliant. So here we are in the very impressive, both visually and acoustically, reservoir. It is soon to become an excellent resource for the local community and any visitors in the form of a science discovery centre with its own planetarium. Julian, what is this reservoir and where did it come from? Could you talk us through some of its history?
Yes, I mean, we are now sitting in the reservoir, literally where the water would be. So before it was decommissioned, we would actually be underwater now, but thankfully they've drained it for us tonight. I don't like getting too wet, even though it's quite muddy down here. Yes, well, the reservoir was built in 1885 to serve the local population with clean drinking water, which wasn't readily available then, and there was outbreaks of disease and such. So it was decided that a source of water, clean drinking water, was needed for the local area. And a reservoir was required to store it, ready for use. So the site here was chosen because it's one of the highest points in Nottinghamshire. Bearing in mind the reservoir uses gravity to feed the community, so you naturally put it on a high spot. Water was sourced from a well in Harlowood, which is about a mile or so from here, and pipe work was laid to here, and water was pumped here. And 500,000 gallons or so was stored here in this very reservoir that we are now sitting, and then gravity fed to the local community who needed it.
Excellent. So it's a real piece of history that we're sitting in now, getting some amazing acoustics. Do we know how many years it was actually active for in use supplying water?
Well, we know for sure it was built in 1885. There's plenty of records for that. We are struggling, though, even though it's relatively recent history, to find out exactly when it ceased operations. We believe it was around the 1960s, and we don't know. We don't quite know when it was, but we are doing some research to try and find out when it ceased operations, and well, basically where the water supply was then fed from, because everyone still needs clean drinking water.
Yeah.
So we are actively researching that. So yes,
it's a Victorian reservoir, and it makes sense that it would be. Well, it doesn't make sense that you would find one next to your observatory, but it makes sense that they're next to each other on the highest points. But how did an amateur astronomy club such as ours come to be in possession of a Victorian reservoir, and when did that happen?
That's a very good question, and because I've been doing tours to the public here, because we open up the reservoir to bring the public down on open days, etc., and a lot of people get very puzzled, and most people do not know this is here. Some people don't even know the observatory was here. They've been driving past many years and seen the signs, and eventually they've come in. So they think they're just coming on an open day or open evening to see the observatory, and we've got an awful lot to offer over on that side. And then they get to hear about this underground reservoir thing, and they go, "What's that all about?" So for the last year or so, I've been doing tours down here and explaining what this space was all about, as we've just talked about, and our exciting plans.
What are the views of the public when they come down here and they see it at open events in its current state?
I think that they're very impressed. As I say, they don't know why it's here, and I explained to them that the reason why it's here, well, we've explained that because it was a source of clean drinking water, and there was a need to store it on high ground. But the reason why it's next to our observatory, so they've been to see the observatory and had a lecture and seen through the telescope, etc. And then I drag them down here, and they go, "What's this all about?" So the reason why we are basically here next to the observatory is. All the land that the observatory was on, and obviously the reservoir, is ex-waterboard land. And in 1970, when the founding members purchased the original small parcel of land where our observatory is now, because they needed a spot that was on high ground, relatively low light pollution, which is where you'd put an observatory normally. So and this parcel of land where the observatory is now became available. So that's why the observatory is there. And then you might be asking, well, why are we next to an underground reservoir? Well, because in 2014, the parcel of land that this reservoir is on became available for sale, and we decided that the members at the time and the committee that we should secure this piece of land, not because it's got a reservoir on it, but because if we didn't secure it, who knows what might be built on it or whatever. So, we felt we needed to secure it just to stop anything else being built on it, because astronomers don't like noise and vibration and light pollution.
Someone could have built a big neon sign on it, and we wouldn't have been able to see anything.
Wouldn't be able to see anything if someone built a housing estate here, So I mean, we had no evidence that was going to happen, but we thought, well, we secure it. So we managed to secure it in 2014 for our use, And then, as I say to the public, it just so happens to have this underground reservoir on it.
I always enjoy being at open days and people saying to the public, "Oh, have you had a tour of the reservoir yet?" And they go, "The what? I thought this was an observatory tour."
So, yes, so I do get a few members to sort of hype it up a bit and sort of like, just to sort of make people aware that this is here, and then I gather them together and then explain briefly what we've just said, why it's here, and how we came into possession of it and why we took it over. Just to secure the land, and it just so happens to have this reservoir on it, and we've basically decided that, we could just clean it up and keep showing it to the public as it is. It's a fantastic structure, as we would all agree. For those of you who've seen it, you know that it's a fantastic structure, fantastic Victorian brickwork. They knew how to build structures back then, and it's lasted since then as well, absolutely sound and intact. But we thought, no, we'll go further. We will do something with it.
So do you explain to the public when they come around on an open day tour what the future is, and what if you do, how do they react to that as well?
They are quite amazed, actually. As I say, once they've got over the shock that this is here and they've entered this underground reservoir, that I always ask them if they've been to Papplewick, because Papplewick also have a disused Victorian underground reservoir, which is fairly similar to ours. And surprisingly, not many people have been to it. So I'm sort of like trying to, gauge their opinion. So when they do come through, they do go wow, and you do get quite a few wows, so that's good. So then when we explain that the project that we're doing is twofold, really. The project is partly to preserve the heritage structure. And everyone goes, well, yeah, we need to do that. And I tell them that, we're not going to just clad the walls and suspended ceilings and raised floors and paint all the walls, because that will just look like anywhere. You will see in the finished project the Victorian brickwork and all the arches as it was, to preserve the heritage structure. And then we're turning the space into a very useful resource, because obviously, as everyone knows, we do an awful lot of outreach here, but we are limited by space and resources at the moment in our relatively small observatory. But we're very well known for the outreach we do here with the schools and uniformed services and public and adult groups, etc. So we decided, well, why don't we use this space that we're sitting in for good use to increase our outreach output, and that's what we've now put forward.
It's incredible.
Science and Discovery Centre.
Yeah, it really is incredible, and we're now at a point where the work's about to actually finally start, and for the society to have got to this point, and for us to move forward with the new amazing building and the resources it will provide, a lot of work's been undertaken by volunteers, both within and on top of the reservoir. And you've done a lot of that work yourself as well, but what's that entailed, and what sort of jobs have needed tackling by volunteers?
Well, in the reservoirs to date, to sort of prepare it for handover.
Yeah.
Well, as I said on the way in, a small team of dedicated volunteers have got very muddy and dirty in clearing it out, because there's been a lot of silt in here that's accumulated. We did, because we don't really like getting the public muddy, we did clear an area that we're actually sitting on now, a cleaner area around the central section, so we can literally take public around without getting too muddy. So that's been cleaned. And then we've made attempts to dig away and remove some of the other sludge, as it were, and we've done quite well.
There's been shovels and power washers, and there's bin bags right behind you now, full of crud.
You could call it that. For those of you who ended up in it, that's a term you could use.
Is it safe to say that volunteer efforts such as your own have saved the society money in the long run, and maybe sped up the progress of getting the go-ahead, maybe even brought forward the building date?
Certainly volunteer efforts have been very useful in clearing it out, because we've also knocked down the top building that housed the metering and etc. and equipment for the reservoir when it was built, because we don't need that building.
Yeah.
So volunteers over many weekends have been gradually knocking that down, cleaning bricks to preserve and reuse the bricks in the project, because why not use original bricks where we need bricks, because it makes it more authentic. So volunteers have been knocking the top building down, because we don't need it, clearing out the silt. It's been used over the years as a store area, so that items had to be removed. So volunteers have been certainly being busy and getting muddy. And any work that volunteers would do would ultimately save on the cost, because if we don't do it, the main contractor will have to do it, and naturally we'll have to charge for it.
Yeah, well, I think it's been an amazing effort from lots of volunteers trying to push forward so we can get going and get stuff done. We've been talking about what the future is going to be of the Planetarium and the Science Discovery Centre. I wondered if you could give us an audio tour of what the Science Discovery Centre will look like once the work has been completed and we are allowed access.
Well, as I say, where we are sitting now, would have been underwater in the reservoir, and I hope you can hear the acoustics on the recording. We can certainly hear the acoustics in here. Not an awful lot will change in here, because part of the project, as I said earlier, is to preserve the heritage structure, to show off what it was. We still want people to know it was a reservoir, not just clad it and paint it and seal it, and because it could just look like any old building then. So down on this level is mainly going to be open plan exhibition space. Obviously, it's going to be completely cleaned, so no one's going to get any more muddy, which is brilliant. There's going to be proper lighting in here, because members did install temporary lighting in here, because obviously you're in an underground reservoir, there wouldn't be any lighting in here. So we've added lighting in here, and we're always bringing in torches and lamps and things to see what we're doing and to show it to the public. So this level generally will be mainly an exhibition space. Being an observatory, there's lots of things we can show in exhibition. Everything from pictures that members have taken and help with the outreach, and just exhibitions that we will commission from members and external sources as well, I should imagine. Also down here there will be naturally, because it will be a modern building, it will have all the plant that you would imagine a modern building would require. So there will be a plant room down here. But a very unique feature of the plant room is, because normally it's tucked away in a basement somewhere, no one ever sees it and it's restricted access. Well, it will be fairly restricted access because there will be proper machinery in there. But because this project is also about outreach and promoting STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering and maths, to the local communities and further afield, why not be able to see into the plant room, to see the workings of the plant? So the proposal is to have windows in the plant room to then be able to look through and see what the plant is, and there'll be labels on it to say this is a pump and this is an incoming switchboard and this does that and this does that, and just to, why not? It's part of the engineering aspect of it, so why not show it off, rather than just lock it away and no one ever sees it. Yeah,
I can't wait to see the public, adults and children, down here being given presentations and learning and being taught everything they, like you say, STEM, and encouraging people to take that on in future.
Absolutely, because also what we're hoping to do in conjunction safely with the main contractor is not just put hoardings around it for the whole complete construction phase, but where we can and safely is to be able to bring people in and show people the construction of it. I certainly will be interested, I know many members will be interested, the actual construction of it, not just hide it away and then go, here it is, because we'd like to see the transition of it. We've got some time-lapse cameras going up outside, but we've got no cameras in here, so it'd be nice to see it every now and again through its construction, and hopefully be able to show it off as well in the vases as part of the engineering side of things, to see construction, to get people interested in construction.
Yeah, I really look forward to seeing the time lapse of the construction. And are you going to be getting your drone out and flying around?
I will, where it's safe to do so. I will be flying the drone around, which I have already done so, to record certainly the exterior of the reservoir before we knocked down the top building. And yes, why not? It will go as a whole project to show off the previously and the construction of the project. All part of the package as part of the engineering, really. So, as I said, this level will be exhibition space. We are now building also another level on top of here, which is why we've knocked down the top building, because we don't need it. And that will be a glass walled level to let lots of natural light in. And that space obviously will be completely brand new, and we've designed it to house a meeting room, so we can have meetings here and further educational outreach in there as well, and corporate meetings, why not? And there'll be a cafe upstairs as well, which we're looking forward to as well. And obviously, as part of the main, one of the main aspects of the whole project is the planetarium, which will be on the upstairs level. So we're very excited we're very excited to build the planetarium, which has been in the minds of the founding members since 1970.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the founding members not long ago, who built the original observatory back in the 1970s and early 80s next door to us, and obviously they knew this was here, and you could only access it via the top then, not the door we've walked through. And there was an old rickety ladder there that the contractors, that the workers back in the day, the waterboard engineers used. And they told me that they literally looked down into it and said, wouldn't this make a great planetarium? And here we are 50 years later, literally weeks away from starting building the planetarium on top of also the Science and Discovery Centre.
It's going to be incredible, isn't it? And I've seen some of the designs that have been come up with throughout the whole process, and kind of seeing one and then changing to another as they think of something else to add or to move the planetarium along.
Yes, very much so. Before my time, several members, very, very dedicated and keen members, came up with concept drawings since... Well, probably way before we took ownership of the site in 2014. There's always the idea there, but certainly from the 2014 date when, we thought, well, why don't we do something with this? Then over those early years, concepts and drawings and proper CAD drawings that have been presented to me recently as part of the overall project to document. Some very detailed CAD drawings of ideas and thoughts, and literally blue sky thinking, as they call it, and brainstorming, and all sorts of ideas and thoughts all gone into the mix. And many meetings were had with architects and planners, and that all fed into it. And from that, over the years, those ideas and drawings and plans and sketches and thoughts have all gone into where we are today with the plans today. Yes, it may look very different to what those original concept drawings were, but it fed into the imagination, and it allowed the modern plans that we've got now, for them to be started effectively.
Yeah. Well, between now and the planetarium and Science Discovery Centre you've just described, as I hinted before we walked down here, you have a new role to keep you busy in leading Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society's Reservoir History and Artefact Preservation. Is that right?
We'll go with that. Something along those lines, yes. I mean, that does what it says on the tin, really, Joe.
What does that mean? Yeah,
we were lucky that, as a separate to the many funding streams that we've already got that's been discussed elsewhere, we were very lucky to receive an amount of funding from the National Heritage Lottery Fund to literally document and show the history of this very site that we're sitting in. And that's split into several phases. One of the phases is because we were lucky that when we took ownership of the reservoir, all the pipework and valves were still in situ, which were effectively behind where I'm sitting now. Part of the project is to preserve them, because otherwise you could have just buried them or just cut them up for scrap, and what a shame that would be. Original valves from back when it was built in 1885, again, going back to science, technology, engineering and maths, why would you not want to show off the workings of a reservoir, valves and all things like that? So that's what we put in the bidding for, and we were successful with the Lottery Heritage
So
Fund.
which artefacts is it that are going to come back and be on display? The valves?
Yeah, so there's 3 valve sets that were here when we took over. The original incoming ballcock valve, it does have the ball float missing. So if anyone's got it, can they bring it back, please?
That's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, so if you've got the ball valve in your loft, not the one in your tank, can you please bring it back? But if no one brings it back, that's fine, because what we're going to do is we are going to replicate the ball valve as best possible and reattach it effectively, and then display that valve. Also, the 2 valves that were in the central area, they have now been literally cut out by a local engineering firm, and were removed just last week because we had to remove everything that we were going to before the handover to the main contractor. They were very carefully lifted out via the central hole where the original top building was situated, and now they've gone off-site and they're going to be cleaned, refurbished and preserved, and then they're coming back, and we are going to basically present them as artefacts here somewhere. We're not quite sure where they're going to go yet. We've got some time to think about that, but we want to show them off because we want the public to see the history, to know what the building was about, and that recurring theme: science, technology, engineering, and maths. Bring it all in. I would like them to be mounted on the outside as you come in. Two big valves mounted there either side. Because people know they're coming to a planetarium. Wow, planetarium, and they know what that's about. And Science and Discovery Centre, well, you could probably understand what a Science and Discovery Centre was, but what's this building? Because you will see it as you come in. You will see the circular brick building. You're thinking, what is that? What was that? Because going back to when we bring public in for open days, they have no idea this is here. So I want people to be, the building itself to be part of the experience. And I don't just want wows when they come in. I want wows on the outside. I want people to go, what are these? Because part of the project is to not only recover the artefacts, but tell the story via interpretation, hopefully even working model. How about that? A working model of the reservoir, how it was fed with water, how then the water was supplied to the local communities. So the valves will be mounted, I would imagine, and then some interpretation to explain what they are and what people are coming into. So people know that they're coming into this reservoir, so they don't just walk in and go, what is this building all about? So they will know they're coming into this reservoir, which is part of the fun and excitement. It's the Science and Discovery Centre, and on top there just happens to be a planetarium as well.
Yeah, excellent.
How exciting, eh?
Well, I saw your pictures that you sent to our members group, WhatsApp group, of the valves coming out and saying that's the first time they've seen sunlight since 1885, and they've been underwater for a lot of that time.
That is very true, and they're in very good condition. Obviously, we were very careful when we cut them out because we didn't want to damage them. And to be fair, they were absolutely stubborn. It took a lot longer to take out than we thought because, Victorian engineering, again, absolutely solid on thick plates, then bolted down, concreted in. Oh, my God. But we managed to get them out in one piece safely, and they've gone off to the local engineering firm for their preservation, and then they were brought back, as I said.
Well, speaking about preservation, I've heard rumour of a time capsule.
Yes,
is that happening?
Well, why not? Why not have a time capsule? It is a historical building. There's lots of artefacts that we have even as a society, because we've been here quite a long time, and space and time, it's all part engineering, technology and maths, it's all part of the mix. So why not? If Blue Peter can do it, then we can do it. We can do it. Hopefully ours will be better preserved than some of theirs in the past, but
we'll learn from their mistakes.
We can learn from their mistakes.
And we should have time lapses of the build in there and everything somehow. I don't know what they'll have in the future to read it.
There's an idea and suggestion to work with the local schools.
Yeah.
Because we may determine a date when it can be opened, maybe even the 200th anniversary of the building of the reservoir itself. So that will be 2085, when we're hoping that the schools that we approach that will come up with some ideas to put in this time capsule, and maybe those children are still around as adults to come back and open it. Why not? How fantastic would that be? And then they can then bury a new time capsule in 2085 for the next period.
Yeah.
200 years, etc.
And rebury the original one as well, maybe for another 60 years.
We think we might bury it in the central area that we're taking the valves out.
Yeah.
Because that would be a nice central area. And then there'll be a little plaque saying, buried time capsule, not to be opened before.
Yeah.
So I think that's all part of the project, and looking forward to that as well.
Excellent. Well, looking into the long future like that seems like a good place to end, unless you've got anything else you want to add.
No, I think that's it. It's a very exciting project, Joe, and we're very much looking forward to it starting.
Brilliant. Well, I think you've done a great job down here with the volunteers that have come to help you. You're going to do a great job with the refurbishment. Not that you're doing the refurbishment yourself, but you know what I mean, the management. And everything will continue to be great as we move on. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, and just one thing I would add, that an awful lot of work has gone into this building. I try and explain to the public that they just think, oh well, we just thought we bought the reservoir and we just build this in it. An awful lot of work has gone into this behind the scenes, all through the planning and the bidding for the funding. So it's a very big project and it had to be right.
A few people have been working full-time hours.
So a lot of people have been working very hard on this project to bring it to fruition for everyone to be able to enjoy, hopefully towards the end of next year.
And that's all volunteers as well. People are doing lots and lots of hours.
Mostly volunteers over the years have done an awful lot of work.
Excellent. Well, we will end this section with a few sounds from the reservoir and try to create a bit of a soundscape to immortalise the acoustics down here using audio from space, including Webb's exoplanet WASP-69b sonification and Southern Ring Nebula sonification, as well as the first ever audio recorded on Mars, among some other sounds that we'll be making down here ourselves. The space sounds are all courtesy of NASA's own sound library, which is, lucky for us, not copyrighted. And then after this, it's of course time for our man with the sky viewing plan to guide you to the most tantalising parts of our night skies. Steve Smith will be back with October's Look Up section. Thank you for listening to this month's episode of the Obscast. We hope you enjoyed listening to this one as much as we enjoyed making it. The previously mentioned Looking Up section has unfortunately met with some technical issues and will be arriving in your podcast feed as its own episode in a few days. On Wednesday the 25th of this month, our very own Society member and previous Obscast guest Michael Janikcek will be giving a talk on the life of Nicholas Copernicus. Then on the 31st of October, the astronomer and director of Brecon Beacons Observatory, Martin Griffiths, will be giving his talk on universal death. See you next time on the Obscast.